Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. How's everyone doing today? This is a last minute broadcast, but I think it could be very, very, very interesting. So if you're into Helix, looping, or MIDI, or all three, please stick around. I'm joined by the MIDI mad scientist himself, Alec Bourne. I just have to bring him into the conversation. Let me just get him up here on the screen. 1 second. Oh, do you see that crazy laboratory he has? Alex, say hi. How you doing, my friend?
Good evening, everyone from Italy. Hope everyone's doing really well. Not sure what you can see. This was really impromptu, but if you like, I'll just leave the screens on in the dark, and then you can see fairly clearly what's going on.
I like that. Let me just test my other screen
Oh,
here. Yeah, let's make
yeah,
sure I can see you on the other screen and bring your face in a little bit. We can see the side of your face.
the beer.
That's all right. That's all
Yeah,
right.
it's
That's
sort of
good.
one or the other. I could sit on the floor, I suppose. But
So
anyway,
yeah, this is going to be really interesting. We're going to talk about MIDI, what it is, how it can help you, and then we're going to move into the application that we've been working on the last week or so, which is using it with a looper and working on some tutorials for that. So we'll do like an intro to that. I wanted to do the tutorial today, but I don't have enough cameras to show everything. But I'll give you a demo of what I've managed to set up so far, and Alec can talk about what the future could hold in regards to, the more advanced stuff. I think that sounds
the
pretty good.
fun,
I think it'd be really interesting, and then we'll leave this video up because I think it's going to be really educational to Helix users that like to loop. So first of all, if you're here, please say hi in the chat so I can say hi to you. This is also a hangout. I've got my coffee. Cheers, everybody. Great to see you. Derek is
I'm
here.
wondering about
Hi from
points.
New
I guess not.
York. Hey, Derek, where in New York are you? I'm in Queens. Let me bring him onto the screen here. Awesome. And Patsy Smith, hi from Leiston, England. Oh, I'm familiar with that place. All right, I'm just going to mute you for a second, Alec. I'm just going to do like a little intro. I think you can still, that's coming through, yeah. But you can hear me, but they can't hear you right now. So I just want to tell them. So I'm going to ask you this question in a second, Alec. I want you to tell us, because you're the expert, right? In parentheses, you're the expert. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask you, what is MIDI? So start thinking about that question. I'm going to ask you to explain what it is. All right, I'm gonna tell them how we got to this point. So we both own and use the Helix, and we're both interested in what this MIDI thing can do for it. Basically, the Helix is a great control hub. If you watched Tone Wars last night, they had Eric Klein on, and he said they designed the Helix to be a hub to control other gear, and that's why it has this MIDI thing and why it's such a great candidate to do it. So that's got us all interested. And there's the thing about the looper is what I'm most interested in, but I'll get to that. First of all, let's go to Alec and say hi. And let's ask him to explain what this is, because some people don't know what MIDI is. So before I tell them my experience with it in the past so far to this point, can you just tell us how you got into MIDI and what it is? Here we go, over to you.
Right. Okay. MIDI. I could give you the boring explanation, musical instrument digital interface or whatever, something from the 70s that's been around forever. That's boring. What is MIDI? MIDI for guitarists especially is probably the most feared and misunderstood thing there is. It is a language, as it were, of communication between musical devices. But for Helix users, what it really does is it sort of does remote control of one thing to another. You can also play music, you can also do all kinds of stuff, but typically for us of the Helix or guitar world, all we're doing is switching things on and off. When you look at a Helix, especially the control center, which is now a big deal with 2.9, that is basically manipulating MIDI back and forth, or some sort of MIDI back and forth. So anytime you're changing a snapshot, think of that as a list of commands, which is saying, go to that block, turn that on or off, go to this knob and twist it. That's all it really is. And if you think about it like that as a guitarist, there's absolutely nothing to fear whatsoever. You just basically have a roadie that you can kick and say, go over there and fix that amp for me, and he'll run over there and start twisting knobs and doing things. And there it gets a whole lot less complicated.
Mm.
What people should fear possibly is that you have a computer which is sending off instructions and saying, play a tiny little sample of this, play a tiny little sample of that. And MIDI, in the traditional sense as we know it, is this horrible computery sounding music which nobody wants to know. So it's important to separate that right from the get-go and just think of this as a remote control. Makes life easy.
I like that.
How did I get it?
I like that explanation.
Yeah.
A remote control, a very sophisticated remote control. That's a great explanation. We'll try and keep today for absolute beginners. Let's not try because the thing is, when I was a kid, let me just tell you my story briefly. When I was in school, I remember my music teacher. It was a classical kind of based program, but I remember that my music teacher was into the technology. He was into MIDI, and I had like a Roland XP80 synthesizer with MIDI. And he didn't explain it like that. I just didn't really know what it was. I just knew it was like ones and zeros and cables and synthesizers. That's all I connected with it. I did not understand it. The way you just explained it as a remote control is absolutely amazing. And the thing about the Helix is you've got snapshots, which is kind of like that, right? The snapshots can turn different things on and off. That's kind of what it's doing.
It's like a shopping list is the best way to explain it. A lot of people have confusion over this. Think of a snapshot as a list of to-dos. So you're basically within the Helix saying, okay, first thing to do, switch on that drive, turn down that delay, change the timing on this, by 10% or whatever. Go ahead and do that. And so you hit one button and it goes to the list. Simple, easy. There's absolutely no difference in porting that to an external MIDI controller and putting the same list over there. So you could hit another button somewhere else, like even on an iPad or on any one of these little controller thingies. Where have I hidden mine? One of these. And it's the same thing. But essentially, that is a snapshot. The only difference is that snapshots in the Helix sense are saved within the preset. And I can build a snapshot, save it, send it to you, Aaron. You can open it, and it works.
Okay, so the MIDI can control other gear, not just the Helix. We can remote control other gear, and that's important. So what you've got in your hand is a MIDI controller, right? So that's like another set of switches you can use with the Helix.
Right? Yeah, this adds another 4, but an important thing to remember when you're looking at MIDI controllers, it's never what it appears. It's not just for on-off switches. This, if you hold it down, changes mode. So that's, if you double tap it, that's another thing. If you single tap it, that's another thing. So this is 4 by 8, 32 different commands in just 4 switches, depending how you're using it. Same thing with the bigger board, like the MC6. That's 30 banks. That's 30 times 6 plus another 6. So 30 times 12 times 16 at most.
Okay.
Now, to put that into context, what a snapshot is one button will send out up to 32 commands. That's a big list. You're never going to use all that normally. But it's something to keep in mind.
How many commands can a MIDI send then? Only one at a time or more than one?
MIDI is one command at a time, but it's literally sending thousands and thousands. It's sending them all the time. Like say your MIDI clock, that's going, I don't know how many times a second. So as a digital system, I don't know if you want to get into all this.
No, we've already gone way over what I want. I want to keep this really simple. So in the real world scenarios, if you've got something like an HX Stomp or an Iridium that only has a few buttons, a MIDI controller can add a bunch more buttons and banks, so loads more commands to your device. Now, you might say to me, well, I've got a Helix that has 12 or 10, it's got loads of buttons on it. Why do I need more buttons? Well, it's not the point. You might want more buttons, but you can also add other devices, right?
You absolutely could. Like, say you wanted to run your Helix, and you wanted to use all 8 snapshots, and now you have no foot switches left for stomps. Well, you can just add a MIDI controller, and you've got all the foot switches you want, or add 2, or add 3. So you could have a MIDI controller, you could have a whole floor full of them if you wanted. But typically what we do is we add more intelligence to them and say, okay, for this preset, these are the extra foot switches I want, and you can call it up. And so it's really smart like that. And if you're playing an acoustic rig, you're going to need more than, maybe a little delay, a little reverb or something like that. So you can have delay and reverb pop up at your feet. That's it. And some looping stuff. You can customize it. But the big deal with MIDI this week is that some of the internal functions of the Helix have been added, like go to a snapshot or go to a preset directly, or additional bits of the looper functionality. Before it was just one hit looper or the 6-button looper. Now you can chop it and change it kind of any way you want. So if you're really partial to reverse looping, you could add the reverse button and it'll work.
Right.
But you could do that on anything. You can actually take this remote idea and move it anywhere. What they've done in 2.9 is basically turn this thing into one massive MIDI controller. It already was that before, but now every preset can be something different. So you can totally customize this to suit that song.
Yeah. But let's put it into context for people, even so, because the whole MIDI thing. One reason, well, we've known each other for a long time. You've often got me tempted with this stuff. I've tried it, thinking it's a great idea on paper, and then I've just thrown it out the window. It's just way too much work and stress. But let's just put some things in perspective of how you can actually use this thing. So my amp has MIDI, and it has 3 channels. So when I connect the MIDI cable to the amp, I can switch channels of the amp over MIDI. So if I go to preset 1, it can be a clean sound. If I click on preset 2, it can change the amp to preset 2. That's really powerful. Now, the way we're using it this week, so you can use it in many ways. Like loads of things have MIDI, right? But what
many things do.
What you've shown me, and what we focus on today is what you've shown me this week, is that it can send MIDI the old way with the conventional in and out cables. It can also send MIDI over USB. That is really, really huge. So with one of these guys here, let me just show the audience, show the viewers. This is the Apple USB camera kit. So it's a lightning connector on the end, and it plugs into the phone. It's going to try and focus there. I'm going to plug it into the phone with the lightning. I'll plug the USB, the big one, into the Helix, and then I'll plug a power supply in there so the battery doesn't die. This is the great thing about this device. This is going to send the MIDI commands and the audio. So you can play interval music from your phone, like over Apple Music or Spotify. But if you use something like a looper, you can control the looper commands, and also it will send the loop audio back and forth as well. So this is why I'm really excited. With this one cable, we can upgrade our looper. 8 channels, yeah. That's really amazing. Yeah. So that's
my one.
That's why we're so excited. And the app that I've been working with Alec this week is called Quantiloop. And it's funny because we did a chat about looping, and I said, well, I prefer hardware loopers. I want a pedal on the floor that's been made to work a certain way, and it's reliable and it won't break on me. Now that's not always the case. Of course, pedals can break. But the great thing with Quantiloop on an iPhone is, well, first of all, the latest iPhone is really powerful. So first of all, you're offloading the looper job to the phone, and you're saving DSP on your Helix. Second of all, the app is just a looper app. It's got all the looping functionality you could ever imagine. And with the MIDI, you only have to have the commands that you want. So you could have every single command replicated on the Helix, or you could just have 2. So rather than the Helix looper, the 2-button looper, you could have a 2-button Quantiloop looper with that one cable and the app installed on the phone. That is really, really, to sum it all up, that's really, really exciting. And I will give a demo later on. And I want Alec to also talk about what he's been doing with it, because there's even more you can do. So say I've done that. Say I've set up a looper on the Helix, the one cable plugged in the phone, I'm running the app. That's great. And I think everyone should do that, because straight away you've got a really cool looper. But what else could you do? Can you run other apps as well at the same time?
Oh, you can do bunches of things, but let's start with the basics.
Okay.
One, Quantiloop is 4 times what the Helix looper is, and you have no limit of space. So you're not limited to 30 seconds in stereo or 1 minute in mono. You can just go on and on and on. 2, you can save your loops. directly in there in banks, as many as you want.
Right.
Just keep adding and adding and adding them. So rather than going and starting a loop and setting it up there, you can pre-load things like this. And let me know if this is too loud, Aaron, because it shouldn't be, but
Is failure to communicate. What we have here is failure to communicate. I don't see what's so about warning. What we have here is failure to communicate. About warning. What we have here, I don't see what's so about warning.
so quick demo. Did that come through?
Yeah, so tell us what, I'm just figuring out myself. They might not know what we're doing here. On that iPad, you just point to the iPad. That is the Quantiloop app. So that's available on iPad or iPhone. I like they have the same functionality. I like the phone one because it's portable, but the iPad one obviously is easier to use visually. And then on your right is your Helix LT, okay? And just in case we've got some non-Helix users here. And then how are they connected then? Are they connected with the camera connection kit?
Well, this is connected exactly the way yours is.
Okay.
The camera connection kit, one USB cable into the Helix.
That's
it.
That's amazing.
This is power to keep the iPad charged up.
Yeah.
As I've been using it all day, but you only just really need the one.
One cable. Yeah.
So one cable. So signal is passing through here to fire off these different loops, and you have different options. You can set up a loop so that it continues to loop, or you can do a sample thing. Now, all of this Quantiloop stuff actually started because of Susie Gilchrist. I'm sure you've seen her.
Oh, yeah.
In the groups. And she asked me one day, how could I do Civil War? How could I fire off these little samples? What's the easiest way to do it? And it's taken me a long time to get through that, because there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But this is one way that Quantiloop differs from a regular looper. You can actually store directly in here as many different samples or loops as you want. I could just sit here and record it by voice and then do a one-shot loop. And that is, you hit it once, it starts playing. If you continue to hit it repeatedly, then it will say, what we have. It will break every time you hit. It will restart all over again and only play through once. Whereas a regular loop will continue to go. The other thing that this does is it quantizes. So if I start rhythm, and I think you've seen this, and then change the tempo.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing about MIDI. It can send time. So when you tap the tap tempo on the Helix, it can change the speed of the loop. And the loop actually sounds really good when it changes speed. That's incredibly powerful. A lot of the best loopers on the market do not have that feature. So you've got it there with this. How much is that app for the iPad? It's like $20, $10, $20, something like that.
$20.
Yeah.
A negligible amount.
Yeah.
But this also does things that, if you remember our last talk with Jared, which is really great, we were going through Eros and the head looper and all of the different hardware ones. This does things that they won't do yet.
Yes. Including
serial looping. So it gets very complicated. But that said, there are all kinds of different ways to use this. Me personally, unlike you who actually goes out and performs, I really don't care about any of that. What I want is a band in a box.
Well, I want that too. I want that too.
You have the band in the box. Yeah.
Right.
For me, I'm looking to basically fill out the sound so that when I'm practicing, I can sit in the middle of, a bit of drums over here, a bit of bass over there. And if I want to turn down the bass, I can do that. If I want to turn up the drums, I can do that. If I need a horn, I can do that. Yeah. And I can go and find favorite little bits of music and just try stuff and then save it. And I can come back, the next day and it's all there.
Yeah.
Which is something that Helix obviously isn't meant to do that. The little looper that's in there is a totally utilitarian thing for testing for things. And it's great for what it does, but it was never intended to do this.
Yeah. This is a whole new level. This actually, I'm worried that we're confusing people because I mean, first of all, you've got to understand what a looper is. Then you've got to understand how so some people use a 2-button looper.
Oh,
This looper you've got there,
yeah.
the Quantaloop, it's a performance tool. It can play backing tracks. It can record different loops, change the time. It can have a click track from the headphones, not from the front. It's so advanced. So you have to understand, first of all, what a
It's
looper
a
is.
space shuttle.
Right? And then you
Yeah,
have to
it's a
understand
space shuttle.
that the Helix is only a remote control for that looper, but without MIDI, we couldn't have that. So that's why this is exciting. And you can program, if you just show us the foot switches on the Helix, let me just switch to you. You can program all those buttons he's got there, the colored buttons, A, B, C, D, they can all be, he can make his own looper. He can make A, record, B, stop, or any combination.
Switch these around, or I can take these out. If I decided I only want 2 of these tracks to work, just put in 2.
Yeah.
And then here I can put next preset. You can do anything you want, really.
And you're right.
Within that,
the looper in the Helix, you're right. It's a very basic. It's great for putting at the start of your chain to make adjustments and do sound checks. But it was never meant to do what that iPad app can do. And I don't think it ever. I mean, no disrespect. And they did say last night they're going to work on the looper and add more functionality. But for them to put the resources into the looper to make it like Quantaloop would be a huge job for any company to do. And you've with the MIDI, which is why they made the Helix to control stuff, you could make that Helix just an amazing looper. You could use the whole thing just as a looper. Or you can use the looper with your guitar patches. Or you can also add the drums and the bass to play it. So yeah, I do. You're right. I use Band in the Box, and I love it. And I love that. I love the software because it's very easy to use, and it does things like vocals and strings and soloing, all different stuff. But the looper is great to have those drums and bass going while you're practicing.
Yeah.
That's an awesome tool.
But keep this in mind. As you can see, I have no problem with gadgets and gizmos and flashy lights. I love it.
Mm.
So for me, it's very important that I would expect people to understand this. A physical looper is a different device. It's basically the same concept, but think of it like this. For a very small amount of money, you can start. You can learn what you need to learn, and you can make a really good informed decision and buy yourself a proper looper with physical buttons and all that, if that's what you want. If that looper ever died on you, or you had a cabling problem, or something went wrong live, in your pocket, you've got another backup. So for me, it's never one versus the other. It's always together.
Well, I disagree. I disagree. I told you my advice to a new player is to get a 2-button looper because it's simple, it's easy to use, right? But you're going to outgrow it. Now, what I could do and what I plan to do is I can make a tutorial from I can reset the Helix, reset Quantaloop, and show someone how to make recreate the 2-button looper from the Helix with Quantaloop. Obviously, it'll have a longer loop time. I could just do that, and there you go. Straight away, you've got a 2-button looper on your Helix. You haven't got to go out and buy one. But then what I can do is I can make another video and say, this is how you add an undo button. You've suddenly got a 3-button looper. Or I could say, this is how you make it into a 2-track looper. So you have 2 independent tracks. That's actually a 4-track looper, isn't it, on the app? And of course, don't forget, it's still an app. You can still use your hand as well. So you can still trigger actions like fades and reverses with your screen. So which is I don't think
really what I love. You can add effects each and every one. You can do so many things. It's incredible.
I would find it very hard to find a better looper than the Helix with the Quantaloop app on an iPad. There can't be. It's incredible what you can do with that. It's so sophisticated. Yeah. I can't think of a product that's better than that. It's big, but
I couldn't agree with you there because again, it's a computer. Something's going to go wrong. It's not a dedicated thing. Eventually, I see no difference between software and hardware components. It's all computers. Something's going to go wrong for sure at some point. You should be prepared for that. In terms of number of functionality, this thing blows most things out of the water for sure. It's amazing. But I would never say to someone, take one over the other. I would say, do your own thing. Figure out what you really need and keep your life as simple as possible, because this is not as simple as possible. If we did it the way you wanted, just a 2-bar looper, much better. So ease into it, I would say, to the average person. But
yeah, oh no, definitely. Well, I mean, I'm
just the fact you can save your work and go away and come back and not have to redo it every time. That for me is the biggest problem with even the Eros or the other ones, you can maybe save your performance on a card and then take it out and put it into the computer. Here, there's none of that. It's all right there. So I can go out, do a performance, do a loop. It's already saved, export it, send it to Facebook, and say, hey, what do you think? So for me, this is a composing tool of anything else. It's, obviously, I'm really happy that you've taken to it the way you have. I couldn't believe you did.
No, I have, and I love it. And the thing is, it's still good to get. I still like and recommend the Ditto X2. Very simple, plug it in and use it. If you're new to looping, I would recommend you get one of those loopers, definitely. But if you own a Helix, I can make a tutorial of how to make that looper on your Helix. So suddenly you've got that on the Helix with your guitar effects all in one. And then I can add to those videos, and I'm sure you will as well, but I think you'll do more advanced stuff like the drums and the bass stuff as well. But I can do it more for beginners, and I can just add slowly how to expand that looper. So how to go from the most basic 2-button looper to a 3-button looper to a 2-track looper. And I mean, I wouldn't go crazy and fill all the buttons up with just looper commands. I'm not, well, maybe, but then again, this will grow with me. Maybe in the future I will do that. Maybe I'll end up wanting to add a 3rd track to my looper, a 4th track to my looper. Maybe I want to do that stuff. Let me just...
Essential, because for me, I'm always just flying ahead, pushing the boundaries and seeing where things stop working and then coming backwards. It's always really good to start out with, a voice of experience like yours, where this is what you need live. This is the least amount of hassle you want to go through.
I want to break things down too, because I looked for videos on how to do this and I couldn't find any that just said, right, this is how you make a 2-button looper with Quantaloop on a Helix. So that's why I want to do that. That's why today I went back again and went from scratch and wrote down every step along the way. And I was texting you like, oh, it's gone wrong. What have I done wrong? I want to really break it down so anyone can make their Helix a 2-button looper with that, and then anyone can make a 3-button, 4-button, and I'll do like a few of them. I think this is going to really take off. I really do. Let me just go to the chat and say hi to people. Gravel Rock Steve says, "Is the Pod Go worth buying?" Yes, because as a lot of people are saying right now, there's nothing better for $450. Now, can the Pod Go do this MIDI stuff like this? Well, no, it doesn't have the control center.
Yes, maybe it can.
What? How? How would that be possible?
Maybe before you say no, I haven't played with one yet, but it does have the 4 cable in and out. It does have the USB. It does do MIDI over the USB, and something like this potentially could work.
Yeah. Well, you know what you could do? You could use the screen. You could start it from the screen, and it would still do the audio stuff. But you can't assign the foot switches to the Pod Go itself, and there's less foot switches on the Pod Go as well. Remember that. So I think the Helix Floor is the best companion for this app because it's got so many switches on it. I think the Helix Floor on an iPhone is absolutely awesome. And I'm thinking about things like this. I'm thinking about, and this is my big plan, to have like a 3-piece band, send the click track to the drummer, and then he or she could be listening to the loop, the click track, and then if I record my rhythm guitar, I could then solo over the top of it, and I could also bring in loops and things. You could get really... That's what I've been looking for a long time. And even just to play at home, this, like when you add the drums and the bass and the different loops, suddenly you're playing in a band at home. You're not just playing your electric guitar through a speaker. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Jason Carter says hi. I say, can I do this? Can I just do a quick demo of what I've done with the guitar? Then I think we need to give it some context. Let me just
absolutely.
Let me just grab my guitar. I've only done the basic one so far because I wiped everything and started again from scratch. So just bear that in mind. Let me just grab, I'm going to use the acoustic for this one. So I'll just talk you through it. Unfortunately, I can't show you on the screen what I've done. So I'm going to make myself full screen, Alec. Hang on, so you can see me. Well, actually, you still can't see me. Let me zoom out. Because all this stuff is, for me, it's all about the application, right? It's not just about the technical stuff. So what I've done here is I've loaded up on my phone Quantaloop Pro, which I suggest everyone buys because it's just awesome and great value for money. So I have to turn that on. I've got it running in the background, so I can turn it on, shut down the app, well, not quit it, but I can minimize the app, use my Lyric app, which is on song, which Alec uses too, and not even then have to look at it. So it doesn't have to stay on the phone if I don't want it to. I can minimize it and not look at it again. Right, so let me see if we can hear the guitar. You can hear that, right? You can hear it too? Okay, good. So this is all I've done. All I've done is button 1 will start to record track 1, and button 2 will stop it. That's all I've done. But even within that, it's really cool, and I'll show you why. If I tap the tempo I'm going to play at, I'll get a click track. Now you don't get this on a Helix. There's no metronome. You can't use a metronome. It's only free-form looping, which this app will do as well if you change the settings. But I can have a click track. Let me see if the click track comes through. Can you hear that? Yeah. So that is a click track. So it will count me in 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll start playing. Actually, for someone who's new to looping, this is awesome because it will help you keep the loop in time, which is one of the biggest challenges with looping. So let me see if I can do this. I've got red light fever though. Let me see. And then the metronome turns off by itself. You can have it stay on if you want to, but I've set it to turn off. That wasn't a great loop. Let me do another one. Okay, so my next button along, stop the loop immediately, and you can change that to stop at the end of the loop or immediately. If I double tap it, it deletes everything. So it's like a panic button. So again, I'm doing all this, everything I show you right now is done with 2 buttons. Oh, everything I show you right now is done with 2 buttons on the Helix, right? And the app. That's it. So let me just do that again. Another bad loop. That's okay. So anyway, this is the cool thing. I'll just stop it. If I tap the tempo to a new speed, it will actually change the time of the click track, and also it will change the time of the audio. It will stretch the audio. So check this out. I'm going to tap at a new rhythm, a new tempo. That's obviously really fast. I wouldn't want to do that. You would never go from that speed to that speed, but it can do it, which is really cool. Check that out. So that's audio time stretching. So you can actually change the speed. So if you record something and you think, oh, it's slightly too slow or slightly too fast, you can just change it and everything will change with it. So one more time. Now what I can do is I can add another. I've got to fix this loop. I'm doing so bad. Hang on. Just do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that better? Let me see. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Now what I can do is I can choose a new sound on my guitar. So I'm going to choose an electric guitar sound. Now let me just stop that. I could record this over that track, so it's overdubbed on that track. But if I use my finger and press the track 2 on the app, which I can also assign to a button in the future, and I will do that, I can record it to its own track. That way they're both on separate tracks. So I could stop track 1 and just have the electric guitar, or I could stop 2 and just have the acoustic guitar. So I can have up to 4 of those. So I can have completely separate tracks. And of course, then I could use the overdub as well. So I can have separate tracks and overdub. So you can create huge sounds. But what I'll do this time is I'll just put this on track 2. Let me see. So I'm going to press track 2 to arm it. It's counting me in. And I'll stop it. I used my hand there. I didn't use the foot switch because I haven't assigned it yet. So now I've got 2 tracks going at once. And if I double tap on track 2, it will stop that track. It's set to stop it right now at the end of the loop. I can make it immediate as well, but right now it's going to stop at the end. Let me bring that back in again. It's back in again. Now I can stop track 1, electric only. So I've got 2 independent tracks. I've actually got 4. I'm only using 2 of them. So I'll bring in the guitar again. Doesn't that sound great? And now I think, okay, it's too fast. So right now it's 148. I'll tap in a slower speed. 126. Back to 162. How about that? That's pretty cool, right? I did all that with one cable, one app, and 2 buttons on my Helix. All those different things.
That's lovely.
That was it. Once I got my timing in order. I think it's absolutely incredible. And what I love, Alec, is I love the simplicity. I love that you don't need 5 cables, 2 iPads, and a PhD to get this thing working. You just need a phone, a cable, an adapter, and you can do what I just did. Now, not only that, you can do more than that. And also remember, here's another thing that's cool. The delay, because I'm tapping in the tempo with my foot on the Helix, that's also setting the tap delay. It's setting the rhythm of any assigned drum machines. Everything with just one tap delay button, it's setting the tempo of all my devices, again, over MIDI. So I think that really puts it into context. And Jason Carter says, I wish I could afford these toys, but I guess my point is, to any Helix users out there, if you've got a Helix, get this cable and get this app, because for the sake of another like $40, you unlock an incredible looper. And like I said, no matter what work they do on the looper and the Helix, it'll be very hard for them to get to this level. And again, it's made to use with gear, so why not use apps with the Helix and unlock all these awesome options? Yeah. So okay, Alex. So once I've done all that, I will make videos on this. So make sure you subscribe and watch out for them. I'll do right from beginners to advanced. I'll do like a series on it. But what are you going to do? What's the next step? Okay, this is looping. How can I use? Tell us just briefly how you can use other apps as well as this, because you've been looking into that, right?
Indeed, I have. One, rhythm. See if this is loud enough. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear it.
So you can.
So what is that app? Can you just tell us what the app is?
So what we're doing here is I've got a jazz drummer. I've also got that bass one, which is making all this noise right now. Let me just try and kill that. Boom. I'll take that out of the loop. So there are a number of apps, any number of apps for different drum styles, different bass styles, and then there are all sorts of filters or audio units, they call them. And what the iPad does is it arranges all of this stuff into compatible units that you can string together. So like you'd have a signal chain in the Helix, you can build a signal chain of different boxes within the iPad. So if you want to harmonize your voice or do effects or reverse things in or out, or you could get either really complicated or really simple. Transposing a track. Let's see if it'll do it.
So you can add a drum machine app to this as well, and also control that from the looper. So you hit play on if that button A on the Helix. When you press that, it can count you in, start the drums, record the guitar, and when you hit play back the drums and the guitar you just recorded. And also what you're trying to do, which I couldn't get working yet, but there's also a bass app where you can draw in the notes that you want it to play, and that syncs as well. So if you just draw in, like, say C, F, and G, it will count you in, drums, bass, record the rhythm, play that back, record your solo, change the tempo. You've basically got your own backing band, right?
And you can change the type of bass, you can change the type of picking, you could change the style of the bassist. You can basically simulate a proper band without having to actually program it. You can just basically say, give me something in this style or that style, and it will come up with something new every time that fits your needs. For a practice situation, like me, I'm always practicing with the the Waza Air earphones.
Sounds great with those, right?
Because this is also on an iPad and can also go out by Bluetooth, it's fantastic, because then I've got in surround in both ears the band playing. And with the Wazas, you have this virtual cab sitting out in the middle of nowhere, which comes straight off your guitar. And you can set up your own amps on that. So literally you can walk around the house with just an iPad sat on the ground, and you've got everything in your ears. So for practicing, it takes it to a completely different level.
Actually, I just had a thought. I just had a funny thought. You know that I hate when people have no shoes and socks on in their videos, but but you could actually put that iPad on the floor if you had no socks on and start. It's kind of gross. I wouldn't advise you do this, but you could start. You could use those buttons on the iPad with your bare toe.
Yeah.
You haven't done that, right?
Yeah, no, my iPad never touches the ground. No, I have my entire life in there. No.
Oh my goodness me!
But yeah, you can really, it will really open up your practice time, especially now with COVID and everything like that, where we can't get together with other musicians.
Yeah.
This is a fabulous way where you can also share these. So, which is something completely new. You know, I can do a quick mix, send it to you, and say, okay, what do you think about this? And you've got that loop, and you can put it in there and add your own bits to it, and we can collaborate and send things.
Oh, I didn't know that. So can you? So say that loop I just made on mine. Can I save that?
I don't know if you'll save it as 4 tracks, but every single loop can be saved as a WAV file.
Oh, okay.
And exported. So, you know, anything that I've recorded here, I can save that, send it to you. You can import it and use it as you like, and you can transpose it, speed it up, slow it down. You can really collaborate with this stuff. For me, it's, you know, it's not like going. It's for me, it saves me getting into a DAW, opening a computer, turning up everything, finding all of this stuff. It's just instant on. If I have an idea, save it. And if it's a good enough idea, then it can be re-elaborated later on down the road. But it's, you know, just like a tape recorder that you'd use for recording an idea, or your phone to make a voice note.
Yeah.
That's it for a guitar. It works fabulously for getting your ideas down without having to go through a whole process.
Well, even a DAW, even like Logic, you need a foot controller to do looping. That's the thing about looping. I want a good foot controller. So what you've got there again with the Helix or the HX Effects or the LT, you've got a great foot controller on the floor. And again, with one cable and one iPhone, you've suddenly got this amazing looper. And I'm thinking at gigs, again, if I could just run a click track out somehow of the Helix to the drummer's in-ears, then we could use this looper in a performance situation. That could be really cool. Obviously, that's not something I won't be able to try for a while. But like you said, there's nothing like practicing with a metronome. There's nothing like practicing with a drum machine. And the drum machine app you showed me on the phone is actually it sounds really good. And the bass app sounds really good too. And you could even change the drum pattern as you're playing. If you load up the app, you can just change the pattern with your finger and draw in a new pattern while it's playing. That's really powerful too. This is a whole new world for performance. This is very practical, this whole thing. This isn't just a science experiment. This is an amazing performance device now. It's absolutely incredible.
Indeed. And what else can I tell you? You're not broadcasting in stereo on this, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm only in mono today.
The day you do go stereo, remember that you've got pans and volume controls for each of this. So if you're recording, say your acoustic, you can set it off slightly to the left. If you're recording the electric, you can set it off to the right. And then you can, on the third one, start playing right in the middle. And so you've created a beautiful soundscape.
Yes. I totally forgot that. While you're playing, if the iPad is or your phone is on a stand, you can lower the volume of each loop with your finger. You can just turn it down. That's really...
Or you could do it with an expression pedal and not touch anything.
So you can also use MIDI with an expression pedal. So you could use an expression pedal to assign to the volume command or the pan command, and then you could actually lower your loop volumes with the expression pedal, or you can just use your finger on the screen. Yeah.
Everything with your foot if you wanted, or with your hands. You're not tied to one or the other.
Yeah,
you could even automate the whole thing.
It's totally customizable, and that's what I like about this. And I think this would be very hard to do with any other products. Don't you agree? Because I mean, other products have MIDI, but the way the Helix controls this with that one cable, in and out audio and MIDI commands, and the flexibility that it has with that command center now, that's just,
Yeah.
it's really exciting. Because again, you can have 2 snapshots, a 4-button looper, and some effects. Whereas before, you had to have all the snapshots, and then you had or go into the mode and have the whole screen. Now you can make a screen that's just for you. And I think that's what people might find challenging. You're going to have to think about, what looper do I need? What commands do I need? What buttons do I need? But once you figure that out and draw it out and plan it out what you want, you can basically have a board that's just for you. Whereas if you buy something like a Headrush looper board or something like that, you get the controls that they give you on that. That's it. You have to use what they tell you to use.
And you learn that, yeah.
Yeah.
That is the MIDI game. It's just what I try to explain to everyone. The actual MIDI stuff, forget about it. It's nothing compared to the fact that you have a blank canvas and you can do what you want. And knowing what you want to do or what you don't want to do is so key. With the Helix, it's great because you can learn it, but this is now becoming so flexible. You have to think about your workflow and design it and work on it. And you'll really, a great thing. The first MIDI thing for me was this. The up and down buttons on the Helix to go up a preset or down a preset.
Yeah.
Before 2.8, down was always down and up was always up. So if you wanted to go to the next one, you'd have to step over the first one and jab that with your foot. There was no way to reverse it. Whereas typically, if you're going down a list, you start at the top and work your way down. This is the normal way to read, is from top to bottom. In 2.8, they actually gave you the ability to reverse that. Before that, you would only be able to do this with MIDI controllers. Now they've taken it, a whole step above, where everything can be switched around the way you want.
Yeah.
And that's fabulous. I mean, that's really fabulous. You can now design your own rig.
And I kept saying to my friends, like, I wish the next Helix would have something like a built-in drummer. I want digital stuff to do stuff that analog cannot do. I want a drummer in there. I want a better looper in there. I want to be a one-man band with my Helix. But the whole point of this video is, with your phone you already own and this adapter, this USB adapter cable and a cable to the Helix, you can have all that with apps. Now the only thing is,
about $50 all in.
The only thing is, exactly.
Great.
I'm not sure. I haven't yet. I'm not convinced yet about getting the drummer and the bass running and like a keyboard app running and all this stuff. I'm sure it's possible. I think my advice is, because it gives me a headache, is take it one step at a time. Wait for me to do my 2-button looper with Quantaloop tutorial. Follow that to the T. Get that working. Practice your looping, and then slowly start to add stuff to it, because it can be a real. I was texting you the other night, like, pulling my hair. Oh, I just spat. I was like pulling my hair out everywhere, right? I was going
This
crazy.
has been a long time coming for me as well. It's daunting, because I guess if you're not a 13-year-old, it's very hard to find really good content that says how to do this or how this all works.
Yes.
It is out there, but it's spread everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was really the point of my group. And for MIDI on hardware like this, it's been easy. Yeah. This for me is a stretch. It's really figuring out how is it working and what can you do. You will find the information out there, but certainly if you start building content like that, I will be happy to give you a hand, because for me, it's the most important thing is that people take something so simple as this and incorporate it into their daily practice routines and have fun with it, because it's amazing. The sound that comes through your ears.
It's inspiring.
Just with 2 apps like this.
Yeah.
It not only it really wakes you up, you're like, oh, wow.
The options.
And then you start to learn phrasing and you really get into it. It's just a completely different way of practicing.
It's incredible, but because again, I tried it in the past. This stuff, you gave me ideas in the past, and I thought, great, sounds great on paper. I tried them, and I've reviewed MIDI pedals and controllers for companies too, and it didn't work with one thing, or it didn't work how I wanted it to, or one feature was missing. So I just stopped. I just didn't. I was like, I don't need this. I understand why people use controllers with like a stomp to add buttons, but all the other stuff, when it doesn't work, it drives you crazy. That's why I went back to the drawing board with this Quantaloop, just to make sure I could use it as just a looper to start with. And it works great for that. I mean, I haven't used it on stage. I haven't used it for months and months. I can't claim it won't crash or let you down. But so far, knock on wood, it's been very stable. It works great, and the functionality it gives you is so worth plugging this thing in and designing your own looper with it. And like you said, they're making it so easy now to make your own rig that works around you. But my only advice again is don't go crazy, because I know you run the group on Facebook and everyone should join that. You've got a lot of members there now. Because
it's really growing. Yeah.
You're right, but you're right. There's not much information on how to do this stuff, and it can get convoluted and scary. I mean, you do this all the time, all day long, and even you have to think sometimes, right? So that's why.
Oh yeah, I always actually stretch my hands out and find other people that have done little bits of it. I'm basically throwing it all together in one.
Right.
But you will find many useful, friendly people. There is a Quantaloop group on Facebook with people who are using this live to great effect, who are even building custom boards with that as the brain. Yeah. And they're really good, and they're really helpful.
Yeah, because don't forget, if you don't have a Helix, you could still get just a basic MIDI controller and use it as a looper. But I like the Helix because it's sending the audio and the commands. You haven't got to have loads of cables. It's just one cable. That's what I love. I love the clean thing. The phone, the one cable, and you got all that added power to your Helix. I think that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I will do that.
So easy. You can stick it under your pedal board or out of the way.
Yeah.
And never have to touch it. It's brilliant.
We will. I tell you,
this was all developed for me on the Stomp. Actually, this can be done on the Stomp as well. It's not necessary to have a full Helix.
Right, of course. I just like the full. Again, I like the full Helix because it's got all those additional buttons ready to go. It's got all the extra power.
Yeah. You want as many buttons as possible with looping.
So let me ask our chat. Did any of that make any sense? I tried to keep it as simple as I could. So did that make sense? And does anyone have any questions? And is anyone Did that inspire anyone to try this? That's my question. Because I mean, I want to make some tutorials and cover this on my channel. But is anyone interested? Does anyone do looping? And is anyone thinking like me, like this is incredible? I can have a great looper with my Helix, or is it just me and Alec that are interested in this stuff? Sometimes I feel that way, like it's just me that wants this stuff. Just a few of us, But I think once people try it, they're really going to like it. I really do. I think it's great. So I think what we'll do is I would
have to say to you, Aaron, when I first, I had a looper for about 8 years. It just confused me. It really did.
Right.
Until I went all in and threw down with this, things just all of a sudden started clicking. And now I'm making music. And for me, as a beginner guitarist, it's opened up everything. And that's something I would like to really see other people have the possibility to share in, because even if you're getting really down and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get these chords, I'm not going to get this right, this thing will pull you out of a rut.
Oh, it's a completely different experience. Even just that one rhythm guitar playing behind you, and and something else I do a lot with my other pedal, you can do with this too. You can set that click you heard, you can have it running all the time. You can change it from a click to a kick drum from one of the drum apps. And then you can have a doof, doof, doof. So if you do that kind of Mumford & Sons thing, you can just use it as a kick drum. So when you're playing the acoustic, you've got that kick drum going. It's also keeping you in time. So when you loop, your loop is in time. So that's what I do on Saturdays when I use the Voice Live 3, and it has that kind of looper. It has that kick drum in there, but it doesn't do the looping that this thing will do. So that's a great all-in-one pedal. But this thing with the Helix is even more is more powerful than that. Raphael says it's interesting, no doubt. I think this is what we're going to do. I'm going to link your Facebook group in this video, and I hope this inspires people. That's why we're doing this video today. And I want to do like the real basic stuff, like people that are just scared of this stuff, and like how just to get it working as a very simple looper or a slightly more advanced looper, and even how to loop, because maybe people don't even know what looping is right now. We missed all that stuff out. And then on your channel, you should do the more experimental stuff, like the really, like using the drums and the bass and a keyboard app all together and changing them in, and using the expression pedal to fade in like something, or change the loop volume. I didn't even think about that before. That's really cool.
Yeah, easy there, Tiger. That stuff scares me as well. But
yeah, but
it can be done.
Yeah, but you're
working. And
but you're the mad MIDI scientist, so that's your job to investigate these things.
Yeah, I stick to these things until I get it working. But yeah, it can be done. It's great things. But to make things simple, what we've done, maybe you can do this with yours. You can now save your preset and upload it to Facebook, and you can download the Helix file, load it in, and it's all done.
But I had a problem with that because the thing about the Helix is you've got your preset, which you're right. I can save the preset, but then you've also got your global settings, which need to be configured correctly, and the app.
Your
The
MIDI
app
settings,
itself,
yeah,
the app.
that's
So
true.
that's why today I went through and wrote down every single step that I had to do to get it working to this point today. And it's not. This isn't what I would do. This is just a test. My plan is to recreate the Helix looper that's in there already, the 2-button basic looper, and show people how to get that far. Because once you get that far, you can use that same information to add and modify it. It's very easy to modify it. So I would do I would get them to that point. Because even that 2-button looper that I recreate will be so much better than the Helix one because it will have unlimited loop. Well, I don't know how long the loop time is in this app, but it's much longer than the Helix one, right? And also it's got that.
You'd be bored by the time you run out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a much longer loop time. Even that is worth having. And then it's also got that time stretching, which is really useful, really cool. And the metronome. So straight away, the looper is got 3 features that the Helix looper doesn't have. And then if they want to,
and you can save your work.
And you can save your work, right?
Yeah.
And then if they want to, they can add more stuff themselves as well, or they can wait for me to make another video on the more advanced stuff. But yeah, even that basic looper recreated would be an incredible tool for everyone that owns a Helix. I really am excited by this. It's not, I'm not faking my excitement, which is a nice thing. It's just awesome. Really, really awesome. And of course, I forgot this. You can load backing tracks into the loop tracks as well. So you could use it as a back. I mean, I know you can play backing tracks from iTunes or whatever, but you could store your backing tracks in this app as well and play them back from that. So far, I haven't been able to loop over the backing track. That's something I would like to do. I'd like to be in a situation where I can play a backing track with drums and bass, like a wave file, like an MP3, and then record the rhythm guitar over that, and then take a solo over that, say the outro or something. I haven't got that far, but again, that's the more advanced stuff. But that's the kind of stuff you could do, and it just, like I said. It's one thing to sit late at night and noodle on your Helix with like a clean guitar sound. It's a whole new thing to have the clean guitar playing, the drums playing, a second guitar over the top of it, and with your Wazza Air headphones, I got them too. Like you feel like you're on a stage playing in a band. You can even do stuff. We didn't even cover this. I'm getting excited now. Of course, you could map the fill button of the drums to a Helix as well. So when you hit a button, you get a drum fill. Or you could, and also we didn't touch on this. The looper can also be serial. So you can do verse chorus. So you can do songs where you have 2 different loops, like you have a verse loop and a chorus loop, and you can build up songs as well. So I think this is amazing. Like I said, I love Band in the Box, and that does stuff this doesn't do. And the hardware pedals, like I have the Beat Buddy, that has things this doesn't do. It has like pre-recorded songs that are already made. That's still got its uses. But that also has a feature in here to run the Beat Buddy as well. So that's cool. It's all programmed.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
If you've already invested in hardware, you don't need to go down. You can integrate all of this together in any way you want.
Yeah.
It has the Beat Buddy stuff in there, which I have not. I don't have one, so I haven't been able to try it. But that's on to you, mate. Why don't you get your Beat Buddy working?
Well, my question is this. So I have a Beat Buddy, and this is already to go with it, which I should be using it because I've already got one. Now, my question is this. So I've got the one cable from the phone into the Helix. So how do I connect I go from the out of the Helix into the Beat Buddy, right? Is that how I connect? That's all I do? I just plug in that one cable to that? So you just basically daisy chain it on, right?
Well, basically, you can do both MIDI cables. You still got your in and out. Remember, this is coming down the USB cable. That's it. So all of your regular 5-pin MIDI on the Helix is free and there to do what you want.
Right. So you've got the actual MIDI in and out on the back of Helix can now be plugged into other MIDI devices like amps or drum machines or whatever you want, whatever you got.
Yep.
Wow. You see, that's why this is a big subject. So I can use drum apps, I can use the Beat Buddy, I can use anything that talks over MIDI with this. But I want to bring it back again, even just connecting this one app with the simple 2-button or 3 buttons on your Helix, even that is huge. And then you've got those other options as well. But don't jump in the rabbit hole straight away. Start with that simple thing, and I'll try and get it up over the weekend. The really simple how to connect it, how to get it going. And then you can grow it from there. So start small and slowly grow it. Just don't get frustrated. I think I used to get frustrated in the past and just give up. So take it slow because it's a huge thing. And I think we've got MIDI 2 coming, right? MIDI 2's coming out next, which does
MIDI
even more
2 was
stuff.
signed off about a month ago, just after NAMM. It was signed off, and that is going to be incredible when it comes out. Right now, they're just signing the papers and dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but it will be multitudes more dynamic than what MIDI is now, and I would even get interested in that. It will do incredible things.
Because MIDI 1 was signed off 1981. That's been a long time. So we've got the new protocol coming, MIDI 2. So everything we just talked about, it'll probably do all that, even more stuff. So, because MIDI's an old tech, right? MIDI's an old technology. So
really old tech. I remember I was maybe 14 or 15 and walking into a basement with some guys, and they were messing around with this on a Commodore. And for me at that time, it was like, no way, I'm never going to do that. Just give me a guitar, drums, or whatever. I want analog, real stuff, not this.
Yeah.
But things have changed over time. Things really have. And remember, for the guitarists, don't be scared by the MIDI. It's not that. It's a remote control.
Yeah.
It's a little roadie that you can order around to say, go and sort out my amps, and he'll do it.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget. Don't forget on the app. Right, when I was pressing the buttons on the Helix, all that was doing was pressing the buttons. I'm just going to show the app on the screen. Well, where's your app still there? Let me just put your view on. Hang on. All I was doing when I was pressing the buttons on the Helix, all it was doing was controlling that app. It was just controlling the app with my foot. That's it. That's all it was doing. And then it was sending the audio back and forth so you could hear the looping. That's all it was doing. Nothing more. So yeah, I love your definition at the start of the video today. It's a remote control for all your devices. Yeah.
See if that comes up. Take time. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that little light coming on and off.
Yeah, dub mode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, just it either puts it on your feet or in your hands or wherever you want. It's just another remote control.
Yeah. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. I think this has been really great, and I hope we gave it some explanation, and I hope we gave it some actual practical meaning, because I love analog gear, but the thing about this is that we're able to do things that analog gear could never do. Like, you can't just hit a button on an analog pedal board and have drums and bass and your delay changes and your amp changes, and you can't do that with analog gear. And I love the fact that I can use the Helix to change my real amps channels and also loop into Quantaloop as well. So I can actually have the best of both worlds. I can bridge it all together with the MIDI. And that's why Line 6 was so clever with this product, because other products, there's great product. Like Kemper has all these amazing amp profiles, but it can't talk to gear like this. And so you're never going to get the flexibility that this thing gives you. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, I hope
it's all about the routing, and Eric Klein said it really best last night in the whole interview that was given. I would urge anyone who's into Helix, go and see that on
Tone Wars, right?
Jared's channel, Tone Wars.
Yeah.
That was an amazing interview. It really was. I mean, it just totally had me stoked, because he's really got it going on up there, Eric, with this stuff.
He put it into perspective.
The way
he put it in perspective.
He really puts
it
into perspective, and I can just sit down and be happy now and say, okay, go ahead, do your thing, mate. You just.
Well, what you're doing is everything he ever imagined. I mean, a lot of people buy something like a Helix and just use it as a direct to front of house amp and cab thing for a wedding band. That's absolutely fine. It works great for that. But you're doing the things he envisioned. You're doing how can I make this thing do so and so and so and so. I mean, right now I'm using it for my microphone, the noise gate on my microphone for this broadcast, and I've even got a button on there that says mic mute. If I press the mute button, it mutes the microphone. It can actually control your entire room. It can control my cameras if I set it up. It can control everything. But the whole music thing is so exciting to me, because we had a talk about looping before, and I remember, it's just funny because I said to you a month ago, oh well, I start with the 2-button looper, and loopers are. There's some good ones right now. They're getting better. I would never use an app. And now I've tried this app you told me about, and I'm like, this is absolutely incredible. Like, you were right. This is the way to do it, with a dedicated app that they've invested their time and expertise into. It's amazing. So anyway,
makes me happy to hear that, Aaron.
Whatever people think. I hope this video inspires people to try this. I hope that they're as excited as I am. I see a lot of potential here. I will try to get up soon. So, please subscribe to my channels. I'll try to get a video up soon of how to set up the app with the Helix in very simple terms from A to Z. And check out Alex's channel on YouTube. Subscribe to him. Check out the Mad MIDI Scientist group on Facebook and subscribe to that, because there's lots of people in there that can help you. But like I said, I'll try and keep the very simple angle. I'll let Alec do the more advanced stuff, because I get too stressed out with it all. But this has been great, and we'll do this again, my friend. We'll do this again. We'll come on and we'll see if we make any big breakthroughs. We'll come on and do another demo. I think it's good to show people what you can actually do with it in a practical way, and not just say, "Hey, I got my toaster to talk to my refrigerator." It's nice to show how you can actually use this to make the music. I think that's what I'm trying to do. Show that.
The applications are definitely
application.
There. But, yeah, we will touch base again, and we'll see if we get this whole bass and drums thing really working.
That's really exciting, because if you can have a backing band that you can program on the fly, that's a whole new level. So
that does their own thing. That's really the big thing. Otherwise, backing track, simple. But with this stuff, it has its own personality, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited what we're going to find with this. So keep your eyes open for what we do, and we'll see you next time. Alec, thanks for joining me. It's been great hanging out as always.
Cheers, mate. Always glad to join in.
Yeah. No, thank you. I really appreciate your help with everything. Okay, everybody. Thanks for watching. Go and make some MIDI stuff. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.